Hello, George. Back again?
That's right, Mrs. Tessman.
I think I'm going to shoot you, Judge Brock.
Stop it. Don't stand there aiming that thing at me.
This is what comes of trying to sneak in the back way.
What sort of woman is this? An exceptional woman? Especially troubled? Mad? Cold and hard? Unfeminine? Or does she perhaps have something of every woman, trapped by her society and her sex? These are questions we still cannot answer today. Imagine the shock Henrik Ibsen must have created when he tore the curtain from the never, never land of romanticism to confront reality.
Have you gone completely mad?
I didn't hit you, or did I?
I wish you'd stop fooling about with that thing.
Come in, George.
My God, I thought you'd given up that game. What are you shooting at?
Oh, I'm just standing here aiming into the blue.
Allow me. Oh, yes, I remember him quite well. There. No more jokes today.
Well, for God's sake, what do you expect me to do with myself?
Haven't you had any visitors?
No, not one. All our best friends are still in the country.
And Tessman's not at home yet, is he?
No, as soon as he'd had lunch, he went over to see his aunts. He wasn't expecting you so early.
I should have thought of that sooner. Stupid of me.
Why, stupid?
I would have come here even sooner.
There'd have been no one here if you had. I've been in my room changing since lunch.
Isn't there some little chink in your door through which we could have a conversation?
You forgot to arrange for one.
Yes, that was stupid of me, too.
Well, we'll just have to settle down and wait. Tessman won't be back for some time yet.
I expect I shall manage to be patient.
Well?
Well,
I asked first.
now let's just have a nice, quiet little chat, Hedda.
Seems endless ages since we last had a talk, doesn't it? Oh, except for a few words yesterday evening and again this morning. I don't count that.
Just the two of us, you mean? A private talk?
Yes, something like that.
Every day when I walk past, I wished you were home again.
I've spent my whole time wishing the same thing.
Have you? Really, Hedda? I thought you were having the most wonderful time abroad.
Is that what you thought?
Oh, that's what Tessman said in his letters.
Him. Oh, his idea of bliss is rooting around in libraries and copying out old parchments, whatever you call them.
Yes, well, I suppose that's what he's been called upon to do in life, among other things.
Yes, of course, and I suppose if that's your... What about me? My dear, I've been so desperately bored.
Have you really? Seriously?
Well, think about it for a minute. 6 whole months without meeting anyone who knew anything about our friends, or anyone who could talk about the kind of things that interest us.
Yes, I should think I would begin to feel a bit cut off.
But the thing that I found most unbearable
Yes?
was always, the whole time, being with the same one person.
From morning till night, yes, I can imagine. The whole time.
Yes, that's what I said, the whole time.
Yes, but he's fairly innocuous, Tessman. I would have thought you could have...
Tessman is an academic.
Undeniably.
And academics certainly don't make entertaining traveling companions. Well, not in the long run, anyway.
Not even the academic you love?
Oh, please don't use that nauseating word.
Nauseating.
You just try it. Listening to the history of civilization from morning till night.
The whole time. I don't quite understand why you,
Why I married George Tessman.
If you like, yes.
You find it as surprising as that?
Well, yes and no.
I'd really danced myself to a standstill, Judge. My time was up. No, I mustn't think things like that or say them either.
You've certainly no reason to.
Ah, reasons. Well, one thing you must admit. George Testament is entirely respectable.
Oh, respectable and upright. God, yes.
And I can't think of anything really ridiculous about him, can you?
Ridiculous? No, not exactly.
Well, then he's extremely conscientious about his research work. I don't see why he shouldn't go quite a long way eventually.
Everyone else expects him to end up in some exceptionally distinguished position, Hedda. I thought you did too.
Yes, I did. And since what he seemed intent on, under any circumstances, was to look after me, I could see no reason to turn him down.
Yes, well, if you look at it like that...
More than any of my other admirers were prepared to do, my dear.
Well, I certainly can't answer for all the others. As far as I'm concerned, I've always felt, as you well know, a certain respect for the bonds of matrimony, I mean, generally speaking, anyway.
I can assure you I never pinned any hopes on you.
All I want is a nice, warm, friendly environment where I can make myself useful in all sorts of ways and feel free to come and go and know I was liked and trusted.
By the man of the house, do you mean?
Well, to be quite frank, preferably by the lady. By the man as well, obviously. You see, something like that, I mean, triangular friendship can be very restful for everyone concerned.
Yes. I don't know how often I must have longed for a third person to join us while we were away. God, those endless train compartment discussions.
Fortunately, your honeymoon is over now. Journeys end.
Oh, no, I have a long, long way to go. This is only a station on the line.
Then you must jump out and get some exercise, Hedda.
I never jump out.
Don't you? Really?
No. There's always someone there.
Trying to see your legs, is that it?
Exactly.
Yes, but surely...
No, I'm not having it. I prefer to stay where I already am and carry on with the discussions.
Suppose a third person were to join the other two.
Well, now, that might be quite another matter.
A trusted, understanding friend.
Able to talk about all kinds of amusing subjects.
And not remotely academic.
Well, that would certainly be a relief.
Ah, the triangle is complete.
And the train moves on.
Oh, it's warm work lugging this lot around. Oh, I'm dripping with sweat, Hedda. Oh, well, Judge, you're here already, are you?
Yes, I came in through the garden.
What are those books you've got there?
Oh, just some new books and periodicals I must catch up on. Academic stuff, you know.
Academic stuff.
Yes, Mrs. Tessman, academic stuff.
How many more books and periodicals do you have to read?
Well, my dear, there's really no limit to it. I have to keep up with everything that's written and published.
Yes, I suppose so.
And look, I managed to get hold of Eilert Löfborg's new book as well. Perhaps you'd like to have a look at it, Hedda.
No, thanks. Later, perhaps.
I had a quick look at it on the way home.
And what's your opinion? From an academic point of view.
Seemed remarkably sound to me. He's never written anything like that before. I'll just take these into my study. I love the smell of a new book. And then I must change. We don't need to leave just yet, do we?
No, good Lord, no. No hurry at all.
Good. Then I can take my time.
You're not really very happy, are you?
I can't see any reason why I should be happy. Can you think of a reason?
Yes, several. For one thing, here you are in the house you always wanted so much.
Oh, you don't believe in that myth as well, do you?
Isn't it true?
Well, there is some truth in it.
Go on.
Well, it's true that I used Testament to see me home from dinner parties last summer.
Unfortunately, my way lay in a completely different direction.
Yes, I know you were going in different directions last summer.
Really, Hedda, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Anyway, go on about Testament.
Well, we came past this house one evening. There was Testman, writhing about as usual, groping around, trying to think of something to say. So I felt sorry for the man of learning.
Oh, you did you?
Yes, I did, really. So just to help him out, I just said, quite frivolously, how much I'd like to live here in this house.
Was that all you said?
Then, yes.
And afterwards?
Afterwards, yes, my frivolity led to other things.
Unfortunately, Hedda, frivolity often does.
Thank you. So, you see, it was my love for this house that forged the first links between George Testman and me. That was what led to the engagement, the wedding, the honeymoon, and the rest of it. Still, what is it they say, Judge? You made your bed, now you must lie on it.
How priceless. You mean you couldn't care less about this place?
God, no.
Even after we made it so comfortable for you?
Oh, the rooms all stink of lavender and old roses.
Yes. No doubt a leftover from the late owner.
Yes, there is something posthumous about it. Reminds me of flowers the morning after a ball. Oh, Judge, you can't imagine how bored I'm going to be here.
Then we must find something to keep you interested, Hedda.
To keep me interested?
Yes.
God knows where you'd go to look for that. I often think... I don't suppose that'd work either.
It might. Tell me.
Well, I was just thinking, I might get Tessman to go into politics.
Tessman? Are you serious? In politics, he'd be hopeless at it. It wouldn't suit him at all.
Yes, I know, you're probably right. All the same, I wish I could manage it for him.
Why? What satisfaction could it give you? He wouldn't be any good at it, so why should you want to force him into it?
Because I'm bored. Don't you understand? You think then there's been no possibility of Tessman ever becoming Prime Minister?
Well, Hedda, you must realize, even if he wanted to, he'd need to be comparatively rich.
Yes, that's it, isn't it? This miserable penny pinching I've let myself in for. That's what makes life so utterly pathetic and absurd. Because it is.
I don't think I'd blame that for it.
What then?
It's that you've never had a really rousing experience.
You mean something important?
You could put it like that. And you may be about to.
If you mean the wretched complications about this professorship, that's Tessman's business, not mine. I don't intend to worry myself about that.
No, I'm not talking about that. Suppose you were to find yourself with what might euphemistically be described as an important and heavy responsibility. A new responsibility for little Hedda.
Be quiet. You won't see anything like that happen ever.
We'll talk about it again in a year's time, shall we? At the most.
My dear Judge, I've no talent for that kind of thing. Or for anything responsible.
Don't you think you should have? After all, most women have the talent and the inclination.
I said be quiet. I often think there's only one thing in the world that I have any talent for.
And may I ask what that is?
Boring myself to death. Now you know. Yes, I was right. Here comes the professor.
Now, Hedda.
Hedda, Eilert Löfborg hasn't sent a message saying he isn't coming, has he?
No.
Then I expect he'll be here any minute.
You really think he will come?
I'm almost sure he will. I think if you don't mind, I'd better wait for him as long as possible.
Plenty of time. I'm not expecting anyone till 7 or 7:30.
Good. Then we can stay and keep Hedda company for a bit and see what happens.
Well, if the worst comes to the worst, Mr. Löfborg can always stay here with me.
What do you mean, if the worst comes to the worst?
If he doesn't want to go with you and Tessman.
Hedda, dear, I don't know if it would be quite right for him to stay here with you. Do you think?
Well, Mrs. Elmsted is coming. The three of us can have a cup of tea together.
Oh, good. Well, that'll be all right then.
Probably safer for him as well.
Why?
My dear Mrs. Tessman, you've made enough withering remarks in the past about my little bachelor parties. You've always said they should only be attended by men of the very toughest moral fibre.
I should think Mr. Löfborg's moral fibre should be tough enough by now. He is a converted sinner.
It's him. I'm sure it is. Extraordinary. Eilert, my dear chap, how nice to see you after all this time.
Thanks for your letter. May I shake hands with you as well, Mrs. Tessman?
We're delighted to see you, Mr. Löfborg. I don't know if you two gentlemen...
Judge Brock, isn't it?
Well, it's been some time.
Now, Eilert, you must make yourself completely at home, mustn't he, Hedda? I gather you're planning to settle in town again, aren't you?
Yes, I'd like to.
Very wise. Listen, I've managed to get hold of your book, but I haven't had time to read it yet.
Oh, I should save yourself the trouble.
What do you mean? Why?
Because it isn't much good.
Extraordinary thing to say.
I thought it had been very well received.
Oh, yes, I intended it to be, so when I wrote the book, I made sure everyone would be able to follow it.
Sounds reasonable.
Yes, but Eilert...
Because now I want to try to build myself up a position again, to make myself a fresh start.
Oh, I see. That's it, is it? Hmm?
But you must read this, George Tesman, when it comes out. Because this is a real book. The first one I put myself into.
Is it? What's it about?
It's the sequel.
Sequel? What of?
My book.
Your new book?
That's right.
Yes, but Eilert, I thought that covered everything up to the present day.
Oh, yes, it does. This is about the future.
The future? But I mean, we don't know anything about that.
No, but there are certain things we can still say about it. Here, have a look.
That's not your writing?
No, I dictated it. It's about the future of civilization in two parts. This part is about the influences working on it, and this second part here is about the effects they'll have on its development.
Extraordinary. It would never occur to me. Line of you, the only thing is I don't really see how we can fit it in this evening.
Oh, well, never mind, some other time.
I should explain, Mr. Lofborg. I'm giving a little party at my house this evening in honor of Tesman, you know.
Ah, I see. Well, in that case, I won't...
No, listen, I'd be very pleased if you could join us.
No, I can't. Thank you very much.
Oh, come on, please do. We shan't be more than a chosen few. It promises to be very lively, as Hedda and Mrs. Tesman always says.
Yes, I'm sure it will, all the same.
And you could bring your manuscript with you and read it to Tesman at my place. I've plenty of room.
Oh, yes. What about that, Eilert? You could do that, couldn't you? Hmm?
But, dear, suppose Mr. Lofborg doesn't want to. I'm sure Mr. Lofborg would rather stay here and have dinner with me.
With you, Mrs. Tesman?
And with Mrs. Elstead.
Oh, yes, I saw her for a minute this morning.
Did you? Yes, she's coming over. So that really means you're more or less obliged to stay, Mr. Lofborg. Otherwise, she'll have no one to see her home.
I see. Well, in that case, thank you very much, Mrs. Tesman. I will stay.
I'll tell the maid.
Eilert, is it this new subject, I mean all this about the future that you're going to lecture on?
Yes.
They told me at the bookshop that you were going to give a course of lectures this autumn.
Yes, I am. You can't really blame me for accepting that.
Oh, no, of course not. My God, it's just that...
I can see you must find it rather upsetting.
Well, I could hardly expect you to, just for my sake.
But I shall wait, of course, until you've been given your appointment.
Wait? Yes, but isn't there going to be any competition? Hmm?
No. All I want is to outclass you in people's minds.
Good heavens. Oh, Hedda, did you hear that? Eilert Lofborg isn't going to stand in our way.
Our way? It's nothing to do with me.
Oh, what do you think about all this, Judge? Hmm?
Oh, well, it's all very commendable.
Well, yes, it is, certainly. Even so,
You look as if you'd been struck by lightning.
Yes, I feel a bit like that.
Well, after all, a thunderstorm has just passed over us, Mrs. Tesman.
Well, wouldn't you all like to go in and have a nice glass of cold punch?
Before we go, sounds like a good idea.
Oh, that's a marvellous idea, Hedda, marvellous. Oh, no, it's such a good mood.
And you please, Mr. Lofborg?
No, thank you, not for me.
Oh, come on. There's nothing poisonous in a glass of cold punch.
Perhaps not for some people.
Never mind, I'll take care of Mr. Lofborg.
Oh, yes, do, Hedda, dear. Would you?
I'll show you some photographs, shall I? Would you like that? Tesman and I passed through the Tyrol on our way home. Now, you see those mountains there, Mr. Lofborg? That's the Ortler Range. Yes, Tesman has written it down underneath. You see there? The Ortler Range near Meran.
Hedda Gabler.
What?
Yeah. Hedda Gabler.
Yes, that used to be my name. When we once knew each other.
So, from now on, for the rest of my life, I must learn to stop saying Hedda Gabler.
Yes, you must. I think you ought to start practicing. Soon. sooner the better.
Hedda Gabler married. And to George Tesman.
Yes, that's what happens.
Oh, Hedda. Hedda, how could you throw yourself away like that?
That's enough.
What do you mean?
And this, Mr. Lothborg, was taken from the Dampezzo Valley. Look at those mountains. What was the name of that peculiar range, dear?
Let's have a look. Oh, yes. Those are the Dolomites.
That's right. Those are the Dolomites, Mr. Lothborg.
Hedda, I was just wondering if you wouldn't like us to bring in some punch anyway. I mean for you, hmm?
Yes, why don't you? And perhaps a few biscuits?
Cigarettes?
No.
Right.
Now, tell me, Hedda, how could you do a thing like this?
If you go on calling me Hedda, I shan't want to talk to you at all.
Can't I even call you Hedda when we're alone?
No, you can think it, but you mustn't say it.
Oh, I see. It's an insult to your love for George Tesman, is it?
Love? Don't be ridiculous.
You don't love him, then?
That doesn't mean I'd ever be unfaithful to him, because I wouldn't.
Will you just tell me one thing?
Shh.
Here we are. Goodies.
Why are you serving it yourself?
I think it's such fun doing things for you, Hedda.
Now, you've filled both glasses. Mr. Lothborg doesn't want any.
Yes, but Mrs. Elstead will probably be here soon.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Elstead.
You hadn't forgotten her, had you? Hmm?
You've been so engrossed in this. Do you remember that little village?
Oh, yes, the one at the bottom of the Brenner Pass, where we spent the night.
And met all those lively summer visitors.
Yes, that's right. Oh, I only wish you'd been with us then, Eilert. Yes.
Will you just tell me one thing?
What?
Was there no love in your feeling for me, either? Was there no trace, no spark of love at all?
I don't know. I saw us as two loyal companions, two really close friends. I remember you were always very candid.
That was what you wanted.
When I look back on it, I often feel there was something beautiful and appealing and brave about our secret closeness, about our having a friendship that no one in the world had any idea of.
Yes, there was, wasn't there? I used to spend the afternoon at your father's. The general used to sit by the window, reading his paper with his back to us.
We sat on the sofa in the corner,
Always with the same magazine open in front of us.
not having a photograph album.
Yes. And I used to make my confession to you. And tell you things about myself no one else knew anything about. Used to sit there admitting I'd been out celebrating day and night, always to excess. What kind of power did you have over me to make me want to confide in you like that?
Did I have any power over you?
Yes. I can't explain it any other way. All those enigmatic questions you used to ask me.
But you always understood immediately.
God, how could you ask me questions like that quite openly?
Enigmatically, you just said.
Yes, but openly as well, asking me about all those things.
How could you answer, Mr. Lothborg?
Well, exactly. When I think about it now, I can't understand it either. Tell me, wasn't love the basis of our friendship? Didn't you want to absolve me when I came to confess to you? Wasn't that it?
Not quite, no.
Well, what were your motives then?
Do you really find it so difficult to understand? A young girl, given the chance with no danger of being found out,
Yes.
wanting to catch a glimpse of a world.
Yes, go on.
A world that she's not allowed to know anything about.
So that was it?
Part of it, yes, something like that.
fascination for my way of life. Why couldn't you at least have kept that?
That was your fault.
You finished it.
Yes. Because there was a growing danger that our friendship would turn into something more serious. You should be ashamed, Eilert Lovborg. How could you try to take advantage of your trusting friend?
Why didn't you do it? You threatened to shoot me. Why didn't you?
Because I'm terrified of scandal.
Oh, yes. You are really a coward, aren't you, Hedda?
A dreadful coward. Luckily for you. Anyway, I see you found true consolation at the Elvsteds.
I know Taya has confided in you.
And I dare say you've confided in her about us.
No, I haven't said a word. She's too silly to understand a thing like that.
Silly?
Just silly about that kind of thing.
And I'm a coward. But now I'm going to confide something to you.
What?
My not daring to shoot you
Yes.
wasn't my most cowardly failure that evening.
Oh, Hedda. Hedda Gabler. So there was something hidden behind our friendship after all. I knew it all the time. You and I. You were longing for life as well.
Be careful. Don't jump to any conclusions. Taya, at last. Come in. Taya, I've been longing to see you.
Perhaps I'd better go in and have a word with your husband.
I shouldn't. I should leave them alone. They'll be going soon.
Going?
Yes, they're off on a drinking bout.
You're not going, are you?
No.
Mr. Lovborg is staying here with us.
Very good to be here.
No, Taya, don't sit there. Sit here. I want to be in the middle.
Just as you like.
Isn't she beautiful to look at?
Only to look at.
Yes. The two of us, she and I, are real friends. We trust each other implicitly. It means we can sit down and discuss things really openly.
No secrets, Mr. Lovborg. No enigmas.
Oh, well.
I'm so happy, Hedda. He says I've inspired him as well.
No, does he say that?
The way she does things, Mrs. Tesman, she has such courage.
Courage? Me?
Unlimited courage when it comes to helping your friend.
Ah, courage. If only I had some.
What do you mean?
Then perhaps life would be worth living. Now, Taya, dear, you must have a nice glass of cold punch.
No, thank you. I don't.
But what about you, Mr. Lovborg?
No, thank you. I don't either.
He doesn't either.
What if I wanted you to?
It wouldn't make any difference.
Ah, poor me. Don't I have any influence over you at all?
Not as far as this is concerned.
I still think you should. Seriously, for your sake.
Hedda?
Why?
Or perhaps I should say for other people's sake.
What do you mean?
Oh, otherwise people might get the impression that secretly you're not really being very honest. That you haven't really got any confidence in yourself.
Hedda, don't.
They can think what they like.
Yes.
It's just that, looking at Judge Brock a moment ago, I could see it so clearly.
See what?
The contempt in his smile, when you didn't dare join them in there.
Dare? Obviously, I prefer to stay here and talk to you.
There's nothing very surprising about that, is there, Hedda?
No, but that wouldn't be likely to occur to Judge Brock. Also, I noticed he couldn't help smiling and catching Tesman's eye when you didn't dare agree to go to his miserable little party.
Didn't dare? Do you think I didn't dare?
I don't, but that's what Judge Brock thought.
Well, let him.
So you're not going then?
I'm staying here with you and Taya.
Of course he is, Hedda.
Solid foundations. Principles firm to the last. That's how a man should be. You see, isn't that what I told you this morning when you came here so upset?
Upset?
Hedda.
You can see now, can't you? There was no need for all that desperate worry. Now, let's all three of us enjoy ourselves, shall we?
What is all this, Mrs. Tasman?
Oh, God, Hedda, what are you saying? What are you doing?
You can't. There are awful judges watching you.
Desperate worry about me.
Oh, Hedda, you've made me terribly unhappy.
So this is what we call a friend's implicit trust.
Oh, listen to me for 1 minute.
Here's to you, Taya.
Oh, Hedda, why should you want this to happen?
Me want it? Are you mad?
And here's to you, Mrs. Tesman. Thank you for telling me the truth. Here's to the truth.
There, now, that's enough for now. Remember, you're going out to dinner.
No, they're watching you.
Tell me the truth, Taya.
Yes?
Did your husband know you'd come after me?
God, Hedda, did you hear what he said?
Was it something you worked out between you? You're coming into town to watch over me? Or perhaps it was your husband's idea. Perhaps he persuaded you to come. He probably needed me at his office. Was that it? Or did he miss me at his card table?
Oh, love book.
Here's to your husband while we're at it.
Now, that's enough now. Remember, you're going out and you're going to read your book to Tessman.
Taya, that was stupid of me just now. Reacting like that, I mean, please forgive me, my dear friend. You'll see, you and the others, even if I was far gone once, now I've pulled myself back. With your help, Taya.
Thank God.
Well, Mrs. Tessman, time we're on our way.
Yes, I suppose it is.
I'll come with you, Judge.
Oh, please, love book.
As you were kind enough to invite me.
Changed your mind, then?
Yes, if that's all right with you.
Good, I'm delighted.
I've got one or two things I'd like to show you before I send it in.
Oh, well, that'll be very interesting. The only thing is, Hedda, how are we going to get Mrs. Elstead home?
There won't be any problem.
Mrs. Elstead, obviously I must come and collect her. About 10 o'clock, would that be all right, Mrs. Tessman?
Yes, of course, perfectly all right.
Good. Well, that's arranged. You mustn't expect me that early, Hedda.
My dear, you can stay as long as you like.
And I'll wait here for you, shall I, Mr. Lovebook?
Yes, that's right, Mrs. Elstead.
So, gentlemen, the mystery train is about to pull out. I'm hoping it'll all be very lively, as a certain charming lady always says.
I wish that charming lady could be there, invisible,
Why invisible?
so as to overhear some of your lively conversation unabridged.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend that to any charming lady.
My word, Hedda, that's a good one. Extraordinary.
Good night, ladies.
See you about 10.
Oh, God, Hedda, what's going to happen now?
10 o'clock. He'll be here. I can see him now. Vine leaves in his hair, burning with courage.
I hope so.
And don't you see, then he'll be in control of himself. Then he'll be a free man again for the rest of his life.
Oh, God, I only hope you're right.
It'll all be exactly as I say. You can doubt him as much as you like. I believe in him. Now we shall see which of us is right.
You must have some ulterior motive in all this.
Yes, I have. Once in my life, I want the power to control another human destiny.
Haven't you got that?
No, I haven't. I never have had.
But what about your husband?
Do you really think he's worth the effort? If I could only make you understand how poor I am, and you finished up so rich, I think I shall set fire to your hair after all.
Let go of me. I'm frightened of you, Hedda. I want to go home alone now.
Nonsense. You're going to have tea first, little silly, and then at 10 o'clock, Eilert Lovborg will arrive with vine leaves in his hair. Morning.
Hedda! Good gracious. Up so early? Hmm?
Yes, I got up very early this morning.
Extraordinary. I was sure you'd still be in bed.
Don't talk so loud. Mrs. Elstead is lying down in my room.
Did Mrs. Elstead stay the night here?
Well, no one came for her.
No, I suppose not.
Well, did you enjoy yourself at the judge's?
Why? Were you worried about me? Hmm?
Not a bit. I just said, did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, I did. For once. Especially at the beginning of the evening when Eilert read to me. We arrived more than an hour early, if you can imagine, and Braque had a lot to see to, so Eilert read to me.
Tell me about it.
Oh, Hedda, you can't begin to imagine what that book will be like. It must be one of the most remarkable books ever written. Extraordinary.
No, I didn't mean that.
I'll tell you something, Hedda. When he'd finished reading, something really horrible happened to me.
Horrible.
Yes. I sat there, envying Eilert for being able to write like that. Can you imagine?
Yes, I can.
The terrible thing is, Hedda, that That he has all that talent, and yet he's completely irredeemable.
You mean because he's more high-spirited than the others?
No, I mean because he's quite incapable of doing anything in moderation.
What happened in the end?
Well, I think it became rather what might be described as bacchanalian.
And did he have vine leaves in his hair?
Vine leaves? I didn't notice any. But he made a long, incoherent speech about the woman who had inspired him in his work. That's how he described her, anyway.
Did he mention her name?
No, he didn't. But I can't think that it could be anyone but Mrs. Elstead. Take my word for it.
Where did you leave him?
On the way into town. It broke up, and the last of us all left at the same time. Brock came with us to get some fresh air, and in the end, you see, we agreed to take Islet home. He'd rather have done it.
Yes, I suppose he had.
Now, this is the really strange thing, Hedda. Or perhaps tragic is a better word for it. I feel almost too ashamed on Islet's behalf to tell you about it.
Go on.
Well, you see, as we were coming into town, I just happened to drop back a bit behind the others, only for a couple of minutes, if you can imagine.
Yes, yes, for heaven's sake.
And as I hurried to catch up with the others, what do you think I found lying on the pavement?
How would I know?
Now, you mustn't tell anyone about this, Hedda. Promise me you won't, for Islet's sake. This is what I found. Now, what do you think?
Aren't those the papers he brought with him yesterday?
Yes. It's the whole of his priceless, irreplaceable manuscript. He'd lost it without realizing. It's extraordinary, Hedda. It's tragic.
Why didn't you give it straight back to him?
I didn't dare the state he was in.
Did you tell any of the others about it?
No, of course not. I didn't want to, for Islet's sake.
So no one knows you've got Islet Lufberg's manuscript?
No. And no one must find out about it either.
Well, what did you say to him later?
I didn't get a chance to say anything to him. When we got into town, he and 2 or 3 of the others just suddenly vanished. Just like that. It was extraordinary.
Really? I suppose they took him home.
Yes, I suppose they must have. And Brock disappeared as well.
Where have you been lurking about since then?
Well, one of our merry company invited some of us back to his place for morning coffee. Or should I say night coffee? Anyway, when I've had a little rest and given Islet a chance to sleep it off a bit, poor chap, I must take this round and give it back to him.
No, don't do that. I mean, not yet. Let me read it first.
Oh, no, Hedda dear, really, I couldn't do that, honestly.
Couldn't you?
No. Don't you realize how desperate he'll be when he wakes up and finds his manuscript missing? There's no copy of it, you know. He told me there wasn't.
But can't that sort of book be written again, turn out pretty much the same?
No. I don't think that would work. It's the inspiration, you see.
Yes, I see. Incidentally, there's a letter here for you.
Oh, there isn't, is there?
Yes, it came early this morning.
Oh, it's from Auntie Julia. Wonder what she wants. Oh, Hedda. She says that poor Auntie Rena is dying.
We'd been expecting that, hadn't we?
And that if I want to see her again, I must hurry. I'd better race up there this minute.
On your marks.
Oh, Hedda, I do wish you could bring yourself to come with me. Won't you consider it?
No, don't ask me. I don't want to be looking at sickness and death. Or anything ugly. I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, where's my coat and my hat? Where are they? Oh, yes, in the hall. Oh, Hedda, I hope I won't be too late.
You'd better race up there. Judge Brock is coming.
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly see him now.
Desmond, the manuscript.
Oh, yes, give it to me.
No, I'll look after it.
Oh.
Well, you're an early bird, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Are you going out?
Yes, I have to get up to my aunt's. One of them, the invalid, you know, poor thing. Can you imagine? She's dying.
Oh, my God, is she? Well, I mustn't keep you at a time like this.
Yes. I must dash. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, Judge, I gather things were more than lively at your party last night?
Well, I certainly haven't been to bed,
You as well.
as you can see. What's George Tessman been telling you about last night's dramas?
Nothing remotely interesting. Only some story about going off and having coffee somewhere.
Oh, yes, I've heard about their coffee party already. I understand Eilert Löfborg was not with them.
No, they took him home before that.
Tessman took him home.
No, he told me some of the others had.
You know, Hedda, George Tessman really is a trusting soul.
Well, God knows that's true. Why, is there something more to all this?
I must admit that there is.
Well, Judge, let's sit down, shall we? Then you can tell me about it in comfort. Carry on.
I had special reasons for keeping track of my guests, or rather, some of my guests, last night.
And was one of them by any chance Eilert Löfborg?
I must confess that he was.
Well, I've heard he was quite inspired.
Tremendously inspired, to the point of violence. No doubt that led on to other thoughts. You see, Hedda, unfortunately, the thing about us men is that our principles are not always as firm as they ought to be.
Well, I'm sure that doesn't apply to you, Judge Brock, but anyway, go on about Löfborg.
Well, to cut a long story short, he finished up at Miss Diana's apartments.
Miss Diana?
Miss Diana was giving a soiree for a select group of friends and admirers.
Is she a redhead?
That's right.
A kind of singer?
Yes. And, appropriately enough, a mighty huntress of men, Hedda. No, I'm sure you must have heard of her. Eilert Löfborg used to be one of her most energetic supporters in palmier days.
How did it all end?
Not altogether cordially, it seems. Miss Diana welcomed him very enthusiastically, but it seems to have ended in something of a brawl.
Between her and Löfborg?
Yes. He accused her of stealing something from him. He insisted that his notebook had disappeared, as well as several other things. It seems he started the most terrible row.
What happened then?
What happened then was a free-for-all with women joining in as well as men. Eventually, I'm happy to say, the police arrived.
The police?
Yes. It's going to be one of Mr. Löfborg's most expensive pranks, the lunatic.
Why do you say that?
Apparently, he resisted with some violence. Apparently, he attacked one of the constables, beat him about the ears, and ripped his jacket to pieces. After that, they insisted that he accompany them to the station.
How do you know all this?
From the police.
That's what happened then. No vine leaves in his hair.
Vine leaves, Hedda?
Tell me, Judge, why are you so interested in keeping track of Eilert Löfborg?
Well, for one thing, it can hardly be a matter of complete indifference to me if it were to come out in court that he comes straight from my house.
There'll be a court case then, will there?
Of course. Oh, not that we need to have any worries about that. I just thought that as a friend of the family, it was my duty to inform you and Tessman of what he got up to last night.
But why, Judge Brock?
Because I have a shrewd suspicion he intends to use you as some sort of screen.
Whatever makes you say that?
Oh, come on. We're not blind, are we? Just wait and see. We won't see Mrs. Elfstead leaving town in a hurry.
Well, assuming there were something going on between those two, there are plenty of other places they could meet besides here.
No. Nowhere. From now on, just as before, every respectable house will be closed to Eilert Löfborg.
And you mean mine should be too?
Yes. I must confess that I would find it very distressing if that man were to find sanctuary here. He would be an intruder, a superfluous element. He would disturb the
triangle.
For me, it would be as if I'd suddenly become homeless.
So you want to be the only bull in the ring. Is that your aim?
Yes. That's my aim. And it's an aim I shall achieve with all the means I have at my disposal.
When it comes to it, I see you're a dangerous man.
You think so?
I'm beginning to think so. I don't mind. As long as you don't have any power over me.
Perhaps you're right. Who knows? I might want to take advantage of it.
Now, Judge, that almost sounds like a threat.
Not at all. No, I've always felt that the defense and protection of the triangle should be completely voluntary.
I agree with you.
Well, I've said all I came to say. I might as well be getting back. Goodbye, Hedda.
You're going out through the garden, are you?
Yes, it's a short cut for me.
Yes, and it's also the back way, isn't it?
Very true. I've nothing against back ways. Sometimes they can be quite exciting.
You mean when there's shooting going on?
Surely no one would want to shoot their tame bull.
No. Especially if it were the only one they had.
Told you I must go in, and I will. Out of my way.
Ah, Mr. Löfborg, you've come for Thea. Rather late, aren't you?
Ah, you mean it's rather early for me to intrude upon you. Please forgive me.
How do you know she's still here?
They told me at a boarding house she'd been out all night.
Did you notice anything when they told you?
Notice anything? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, did they seem to have any opinion about the matter?
Oh, yes, of course. You mean, what do they think about my dragging her down with me? Well, I'm afraid I was in no condition to notice anything. I don't suppose Tesman's up yet?
No, I don't think so.
When did he get home?
Very late.
Did he tell you anything?
Just that it had all been very spirited at Judge Brock's last night.
Is that all?
I think so. I was exhausted anyway. Oh, Löfborg, at last!
Yes, at last. And too late.
What do you mean, too late?
I mean, it's all too late now. I'm finished.
No, you aren't. Don't say that.
Oh, you'll say it too when I tell you what's
I
happened.
don't want you to tell me anything.
Would you like to see her alone? Shall I leave you?
No, you stay as well. I want you to stay, please.
I said I don't want you to tell me anything.
It's not about last night's little adventures I want to talk to you about.
What is it then?
It's that from now on, you and I are going to have to stop seeing each other.
Stop seeing each other?
Knew it.
I don't need you anymore, Thea.
How can you stand there and say that you don't need me anymore? I'm going to go on helping you, aren't I, as I used to do. We're going to go on working together, aren't we?
I've no intention of doing any more work.
Well, what do you expect me to do with my life?
You must try to lead the rest of your life as if you'd never met me.
But how can I?
You've got to try, Thea. You must go back home.
Never, I couldn't. I want to be with you wherever you are. I'm not going to let you send me away like that. I want to stay here with you. I want to be with you when your book comes out.
Oh, yes, the book.
My book and Thea's, that's what it is.
Yes, that's how I think of it. That's why it's my right to be with you when it comes out. I want to see you respected again and showered with honors and happy. I want to share your happiness with you.
Thea, our book is never going to come out.
What do you mean?
It can never come out.
Löfborg, what have you done with that manuscript?
Yes, the manuscript.
Where is it?
Thea, please don't ask me.
I do ask you. I have a right to know. I want to know now.
The manuscript. Well, the thing is, I tore the manuscript up into 1,000 pieces.
That's not true.
You don't think it's true?
Well, of course it is if you say so. It just seems so incredible.
All the same, it's true.
Oh, God. Oh, God, Hedda, all that work. He's torn it all to pieces.
Well, I've torn my life to pieces. Why shouldn't I tear my life's work as well?
And you did that last night?
Yes, yes, I did, into 1,000 pieces, which I then scattered into the fjord, a long way out. At least there's cool, salt water. And they can drift with the current and the wind, and after a bit they can sink. Deeper and deeper, like me, Thea.
You know, Löfborg, what you've done with that book. It's like... all my life I shall think of it as if you'd killed a little child.
Yes, that's right. Child murder.
But how could you? It was my child too, you know.
child.
Well, that's the end of it. Yes, I'm going now, Hedda.
You're not going to leave town, are you?
I don't know what I'm going to do. There's only darkness ahead of me now.
Aren't you going to see her home, Mr. Loughborough?
Me? Through the streets? Suppose people were to see her with me.
I don't know what else you did last night. Was it as irredeemable as that?
Last night was only the beginning. It'll happen again and again and again. I know that for sure. But that's not all. I also know I can't stand up to that kind of life anymore. Not all over again. She's broken my courage and my stamina.
That pretty little fool has had a hand in shaping a human destiny. Even so, I don't understand how you could be so cruel to her.
Don't say I was cruel.
To destroy something that had filled her mind all that time? Don't you think that was cruel?
Hedda, I can tell you the truth.
The truth?
Promise me first. Swear to me that Taya will never find out what I'm going to tell you.
I swear.
All right. Well, it wasn't true when I told her just now.
About the manuscript?
I didn't tear it up or throw it in the field.
Then, if you didn't, where is it?
I've still destroyed it. Completely.
I don't understand.
Taya said that for her, what I'd done was like child murder.
Yes.
But to kill his child isn't the worst thing a father can do.
Isn't it?
No. And I didn't want Taya to find out the worst.
What is the worst?
Suppose, in the early hours of the morning, after a wild, drunken night out, a man came back to his child's mother and said, listen, these are the places I've been. I've been there and there and there. And I took our child with me, there and there and there. And I've lost him. Completely lost him. God knows who's got hold of him, who's got their hands on him.
But I mean, when all's said and done, it is only a book.
Taya's pure heart was in that book.
Yes, I understand.
And perhaps you'll also understand there can be no future for her and me.
So what are you going to do now?
Nothing. Just finish it all, the sooner the better.
Eilert Loughborough, listen to me. Please make sure that you do it beautifully.
Beautifully. With vine leaves in my hair like you used to imagine me.
No, I don't believe in the vine leaves anymore. But beautifully all the same. Just for once. Goodbye. You must go now. And never come here again.
Goodbye, Mrs. Tesman. Remember me to your husband.
No, wait. I want you to take a keepsake to remind you of me.
Is that the keepsake?
Do you recognize it? It was aimed at you once before.
You should have used it then.
Make sure you use it now.
Thank you.
And beautifully, Eilert Loughborough. Promise me.
Goodbye, Hedda Gabler.
I'm burning your child, Thea. Curly-haired Thea. Your child. And I look Lustbog's child. I'm burning it. I'm burning your child.
And what is left for Hedda now? Everything she's done, every action she has taken in response to the needs of her character has served only to narrow her choices. Because she was brought up to know what is and isn't done, she married. And of course she married the wrong man. But then who would be the right man for Hedda Gabler? Seeking power over a man, she has destroyed Lovborg. Not romantically, defiantly, as she'd hoped, but sordidly, by accident. And because life goes on, Tasman and Mrs. Elvsted are united now, reconstructing Lovborg's manuscript. What is left for Hedda?
Please, Hedda, dear, I don't think dance music is very appropriate this evening.
From now on, I'm not going to make any more noise.
Oh, it's not good for her to see us doing this melancholy work. I tell you what, Mrs. Elvsted, why don't you move in with my Auntie Julia? Then I could come up there and we could sit and work in the evenings. Hmm?
That might be quite a good idea.
I can hear what you're saying, Tasman. How do you suppose I'm going to while away my evenings here?
I'm sure Judge Brock would be kind enough to come over and see you, even when I'm not here.
Every evening, Mrs. Tessman, without fail. I'm sure the two of us will have a really enjoyable time together.
That's what you're hoping for, isn't it, Judge? Now that you're the only bull in the ring.
I suppose she's messing around with those pistols again. She shot herself. She shot herself in the head. Extraordinary.
What do you mean? God. People don't do things like that.